I'll give you a quick run through the work I've done so far. It basically should provision everything that's required and deploy Tomcat as well as a UI asset. So I'll walk you through the code. Wait, actually, before I start that, I might as well invoke the uh, so let's start this off. While this is happening, I'll give you a walk through the code. So you'll basically see that this will go in and it will start creating all the required assets in AWS, which I have open over here. But yeah, so the credentials to it are stored in this variables file. It's down here, which I won't be showing you. But the other configuration items are your profile to use from your Porto credentials and your AWS credentials. And then you have your region, the key name pair, and this is my particular IP address from which is being whitelisted. So Ansible will go in and do its provisioning. Uh, and then a bunch of other options. So a bunch of these will be removed by before I send it to you. And when you invoke the same Terraform command, you'll be prompted to enter these values in. Anyways, so basically the pattern being used over here is there's just one Terraform template that I've built, which we'll use for both development as well as production. I think that promotes the behavior of having the exact same setup in both. So there's more parity between development and production. Uh, Also, the only things that need to be changed should be these values down here. Uh, the EC2 instance type, and the number of instances, right? So in development, I think a T2 micro or a T2 small should do, but once you push it to production, you just come in and change these values and then do a Terraform apply again, and then it should go ahead and update the assets inside. It should be able to do a rolling update. So, okay. So let's start from the main. So this is the main place where it's actually starting to starting its execution. You can see that it's getting the access key and secret key from the variable in here, which is not in here. It's down, and then it sets up your ELBs and a bunch of other things. So I've moved each asset type into its own, what do you say, file. So all of the EC2 instances are in here. You have your networking and your VPC creation and your subnet creation and your route table allocations and things of that sort over here. And your S3 bucket access policies and your security groups on what's allowed to talk to the EC2 instances and what's allowed to talk to the load balancer. So basically, the load balancer is internet facing and is open to public, uh, and it's listening on certain ports. But the EC2 instances that it's tied to listens only listens to incoming requests from the ELB. So that way it's shielded from the world. Uh, so that's what's happening over here in the security groups. Uh, and there are a couple of assumptions being made. There is a S3 bucket that's set up with, hold on one second. Okay, so there's one thing that I need to sort out pretty soon, which is removing the prompt. So yeah, so this is exactly what I was going to talk about, the S3 bucket that it's getting the uh, artifacts from. So the assumption being made over here is there's already a pre-existing S3 bucket, and it has all of your WAR files and your zip files and things of that sort in there. And then you have you basically have your your S3 access policies and roles being created so that the EC2 instance has access to that S3 bucket. So it's just security practices, I guess, and allow only these EC2 instances with a particular role to be able to pull down artifacts from in there. I should have been prompted for another Ansible run. So you can see over here, oh yeah, there you go. Connection refused. Okay. Anyways, so you can see that during this Terraform run, as it's provisioning the assets, it also goes in and it starts to run Ansible at the end of it. You can see that that Ansible was run over here. Uh, so that particular piece of code is being executed in here. So basically, the app tier, this the Tomcat instance is being provisioned over here, and at the end of provisioning, it goes in and it actually runs the Ansible script, Ansible playbook to provision all of the required assets on it. So it's just one command, and then it takes care of provisioning the infrastructure as well as provisioning the software that's required on the infrastructure. So this is going to continue for a bit. I'll probably just uh, speed up the execution of this, and yeah, get back to that. Okie dokie. It looks like it's done everything. It should have provisioned everything we require. Let's just quickly come in over here and check. Yeah. So you have your web instances, which has two instances in different availability zones, as well as you have your health checks, your listeners. So it has running on port 80. So if I copy this and so yeah, so the application that's being deployed is this particular one. It's like just a simple index file that I wrote just to demonstrate that it can be deployed. Do that, do test UI, and yeah, so that's the UI deployment that has worked. And then the other one is your, so yeah, so while this is happening, yeah, app instances, same in two different availability zones. So if one availability zone goes down, it will still work. And then let's look at what listeners are tied to 8080 and 8443 and 22. This 22 is not open to the world, it's only open to the Bastion host. So if we do this, then do that 8080. There you go. So even that works. So now back to security. If you look at the instances, let's open one of these. Then instance to load and found rules. So you can see that only the Bastion host is allowed to connect to 22, and then you have internal VPC traffic that is allowed to connect to it, and the security group. This is basically your ELB that is allowed to connect to it. So that is security. And there's the S3 bucket in which all the required artifacts are deployed. Then you have the VPC that's being created. And yep, that's pretty much it. So there are a bunch of things that could have been done better, but I can't really spend all my time doing this. So basically, at the moment, what's happening is you're creating a new instance. So as part of provisioning the networking, so you have a VPC being created, you have an internet gateway being created, and then you have two private subnets and one public subnet. The one public subnet is actually used for the AMI, the golden image being created. So it spins up a EC2 instance, deploys all of the required artifacts onto it, and does all of the provisioning once, and then it creates an AMI from that instance, and that AMI is used by the auto scaling group and the launch configuration to actually deploy the instances, which is tied to the ELB. So that's not great, because every time I every time we run template, a new AMI is being created, and yeah, I think that's just wasteful. So that can be done better. So probably do all of the provisioning while as part of the user data. So as soon as instance is brought up, it pulls down the appropriate playbooks and then it executes it locally. And then so the other thing is there's no app versioning now. At this point, the UI and the WAR files and things of that sort are hard coded, so that can be made better, which can easily be done. But and then you have there's no SSL termination on the ELBs. So as part of any infrastructure being deployed, you definitely want to have SSL installed on an ELB, and also all of the backend communication and authentication should be TLS protected. So that hasn't been done yet. And then API gateway makes more sense. You wouldn't want to expose your REST or SOAP backends to the through an internet-facing ELB. So having a reverse proxy and then mapping all the routes to internal ELBs would make much more sense. And then yeah, so basically this, so you can have a reverse proxy layer like Nginx or something to do it. So there are a bunch of places where this could have been done better. Uh, yeah, so I think I spent an overall of 4.5 hours or something on this. So in that much time, I think this is enough ground covered. Uh, so yeah, hopefully you guys liked it, and I can you can get back to Jade and we can take it forward from there.